Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to talk about handling hype. I'm going to go over a few strategies that could help you in the near future where your products are under the influence of hype. So if you've ever had a moment where you were extremely disappointed, it is usually through something not meeting your expectations. Hype is very vital to the initial sales of any product that is released, be it 2 people or 2 million people. The problem is often hype is caused by developers overselling their product, and this leads to refunds and generally a bad reputation. Obviously, we can take a look at No Man's Sky as a perfect example for an overhyped game. The problems really occur when Sean Murray gets on stage and announces some features and functions that aren't actually in the current release of the game. For example, the lack of multiplayer. Now, it is unfortunate that Hello Games suffers from such a poor reputation, but the majority of people will accept that it was the hype that killed the game. The gameplay was discussed before release, and even with the expectation of multiplayer, would the actual game be much different? They delivered on a lot of the promises and released it in a beta version, I believe, and got complaints because the players expect what they saw in the trailer. The trailer admittedly was mountains better than my experience, but why did I expect the game would ever follow its trailer? In past disappointments, I have never seen so much hatred towards a company, and I believe that it is kind of directed wrong. We all love drama, so here are my views. Sean Murray did nothing wrong except show up for the interviews. In most, if not all, of his interviews, he claims that there is multiplayer, a feature we do not see in the release. And we assume he is to blame, in the same way we always assume the murderer is responsible. With a team working in the background on No Man's Sky, why would anybody claim that there is multiplayer in a game where there is clearly not? Easy. They planned to have it included, in the same way that many of your projects have an ideal release idea. Unfortunately, Hello Games either struggled to get a releasable multiplayer working through hardware issues, or they were unable to fund its development given that they had earned enough from a pre-order, which I guess, given the time between pre-order and release, they could have actually finished and made a multiplayer, but they didn't. If you notice their release date delays, obviously something wasn't working or wasn't to the standard they had hoped for. They actually cared about the product and was being forced to release before the game was to their standards. People are thinking right now, well, they've had nearly a year, why is there still no multiplayer? Well, nobody imagines what the developers go through after the entire internet basically hates them, plus the entire refunding process is undoubtedly difficult and takes a long time. They also admitted to the game not having a multiplayer side to it after its release, but we only really get this through Sean Murray's Twitter, so all in all, it doesn't work for many people. Easy to stop, however, just don't overhype your game. This isn't the hardest thing to accomplish, but how do companies ever find themselves in this situation? Well, you probably have a small project going on right now and you plan to release an alpha version or beta version or whatever you want to call it. Those words don't really mean much nowadays. It has come to a point where people are paying to test out a game. This is understandable as to why, but why? Similar to why we watch Markiplier play something that isn't available to the public, but days later the game is released and he has actually finished a full playthrough of Let's Plays. It doesn't make sense as to why a company would do this. I watched the entire Let's Play of Outlast 2 but have no desire to play it myself, so why would people buy the product afterwards? Well, in the case of Outlast 2, they know their audience better than we think. This company is actually incredible. I didn't notice it at first, but after scrolling through the reviews on Steam, I started to notice a trend in wording. So Steam doesn't release sales statistics, and rightfully so in my opinion. They do, however, allow public reviews and give users a tally on how many are positive and how many are negative. For this, I'm going to ignore any refunds because the likelihood of refunds being approved for a game that delivers this quality of work is unlikely, plus the price being 36 NZ dollars or 30 US dollars I believe, which is one of the fairest prices in gaming. Anyway, $36 with 5,285 reviews brings us to a total of $190,000. This doesn't seem like much, but the horror industry doesn't have as large of a following considering the gaming dominated demographic are actually teenagers. For horror, that demographic changes to adults, which brings me to my next order of business, YouTube. So for all those reviews, I would say that there are 1 in every 10 people that leave a review for a game, bringing our income to a little under $1 million. This of course is an estimate and basically means nothing, but I believe that 1 in 10 people is actually a very high rate for reviews. I never leave reviews on any game because they help the consumer and not so much the developers. Plus, I don't believe that the majority of people ever leave reviews on products anyway. Take a look at the comment count versus the view count on any YouTube gaming video and you'll get statistics of how people engage with this type of content. Markiplier's first Outlast 2 video got 3,407,762 views, followed by 17,030 comments. If we do the math, then out of 200 views, 1 person left a comment. I know the mediums are different, but we need to figure stats out, seeing as they are not apparent. So if we go with the 200:1 ratio, we bring the total income from Outlast 2 to a massive 38,052,000. This is probably all wrong, but you can see where I'm coming from. They made a few million out of Outlast 2, a game that people have seen the entire gameplay for before release. But how did they do it? YouTube and Twitch. So a lot of people out there believe that they are able to start a business and survive it playing video games. While this works on occasion, the majority of people will forever remain in the lowest parts of the internet. These gaming channels only do well through dedication and, believe it or not, luck. Usually, if you want to have the same persona as a YouTuber you like to watch, it isn't going to work out. The market is full of people trying to be like that person. It's like trying to start a phone company. You cannot make a phone like we know today. You have to be different, but you still have to have the product that people recognize as a phone, similar to the amount of people putting on fake PewDiePie voices, which is frankly too many. The main YouTubers who play this content are PewDiePie, Markiplier, and Jacksepticeye, all of which are over a few million views. These are the trend setters. They basically craft what the community are now going to copy. The community thinks that by playing this game they are going to get as many views. Little do they know that 100,000 other people are also thinking the same way. They all purchase the game upon initial release and make videos. So I filtered down the search to 1 hour and 107 users on YouTube had published a video. I went through all 107 and sure enough, each person had a gaming styled video similar to PewDiePie. 100% case closed. To summarize, this is the way that hype is used correctly. Outlast 2 generates money from people trying to be like these top YouTubers or streamers. Being the ideal job for anyone in the modern world is to sit at home and record games in your underwear. Why the hell not? The Outlast 2 marketing team is literally sitting there sucking their own dick whilst people are fighting over an easy job. In the case of No Man's Sky, the hype plays a similar role, some of the earlier people to play No Man's Sky gaining millions of views whilst others get less upon release. The only reason why a company releases copies to people like Markiplier is that it benefits both their channel as well as the game. It's a win-win for both parties. The only people who lose are those that expect that there are millions of views waiting for you if you purchase the game. It doesn't just apply to Outlast. Picture any game that had an impacting start. Hello Neighbor comes to mind as one of the games I see far too often. It is interesting to play, I guess, but generally I see it through attempted promotion. The reason why the game is watchable and playable after seeing videos on YouTube is because it doesn't have a set story. Games like Outlast with a story rely on the methods explained before. But these games rely on the interest of gameplay, plus the methods explained before. So if you are making a game, remember that the hype determines who your sales are going to go towards. And either way works, really. Think about FNAF and how it blew up. It was through major YouTubers, but the money from the games were made through the minor YouTubers. You decide what is right for you. Thanks for watching everyone. If you learned something, leave a like behind and I'll eat it up. If you didn't, maybe you'll learn something from some other videos, do check them out. Oh yeah, and don't forget to check out my gaming channel, that's TaterActuallyPlaysGames.com on YouTube, where I play the entire campaign of Fidget Spinner Simulator 2018, the pre-alpha version. That's right, I've been given a free copy by the developers to play 7 months before the initial release. I'll see you there.